Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Badass Bytes. Hope everyone has had a wonderful week. I am so thrilled to be talking to Neda today as a general matter because she's cool and yes, she's a badass. And also, for everyone to hear what makes her badassery so badassery. That is a technical term. So run of show. We're going to talk about all things badass, why I love badasses, and then we're going to invite Netta to speak herself into the room and share with you all what her experiences have been. Um, the people, Russell just said that she is a badass. Yeah, 100% cosign, endorse all the things. So thank
I
you.
did not pay him to say that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Russell, thank you so much for joining us. Um, so, why is it that I love to have these conversations? I, throughout my career, have enjoyed working with, learning from, spending time with people who are disruptors, interrupters, change agents. Not only do I selfishly benefit from them, but I also know that when these people speak themselves out into the world, that everyone has the benefit of having access to them. Now, who's an example, in my view, of who or what a modern badass is? Uh, Ida B. Wells is an example of a badass. Sarah Blakely is an example of a badass. Steve Jobs, an example of a badass. And Elon Musk, a Thomas Edison. These are people that are unafraid to stick themselves out there, stick their necks out there, knowing that they're, regardless if there's a win or a loss on the other side of it, just the fact that they are willing to make that extension of themselves assumes a tremendous amount of risk. And so, what I particularly love about badasses is their willingness to embrace risk because they know the upside of what's on the other side of embracing that risk. I have written a blog post about who and about what makes a badass. There are 14 traits of a badass that I have identified. I am going to share it on the screen there. If anyone's curious to learn more about badassery and what makes a badass, you can certainly travel over to that post and definitely feel free to give me comments, feedback, engage me in conversation about what other traits besides those you believe also make up what I call a modern badass. Today, what we're specifically going to talk about is um, we are going to share screen. We are going to talk about going 80 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. So what that means within the context of a badass is that badasses are so passionate about the things that engage them that they press the pedal all the way down. And it's really, really wonderful when your team is engaged with you and is aligned with you on the goal. But there are some instances where your engine is just a little too strong or is much stronger than their engine. And it's essentially the difference between velocity and speed. Speed is the rate of travel, velocity is the rate of travel in a given direction. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do all of that, um, I am going to invite Neda to speak herself into the world. I have deliberately not said what Neda does or who she works for because I just think a woman in that industry is so unusual that
There's a time. Yeah.
I would be stealing her shine if I announce it. So Neda, speak yourself into the room. Tell us more about who you are.
Thanks, Parisa. I really appreciate being here. I mean, I think I have enough signs behind me so for people to know where I work for. I'm Neda Tabatabaie. I work for the San Jose Sharks. I'm the VP of Business Analytics and Technology here. For those of you who are not sports fans or are not hockey fans, San Jose Sharks is one of the 32 NHL teams, the National Hockey League in North America. Our organization has the San Jose Sharks, which is our main hockey team. We also have the AHL hockey team called the San Jose Barracuda, who is like a farm team for, we might have a lot of other sports fan. If you're a soccer fan, there are farm teams in those leagues. And we also manage the SAP Center in San Jose. If you're in Silicon Valley, I bet you have come to an event here. And we also have ice facilities across the Bay Area, focusing on skating, on ice dances, on hockey. And we also have a foundation, which I'm on the board of and I'm very proud of. So that's what I do. I have been in the sports industry since 2005. It is quite funny because I didn't even know what hockey was till 1998. I immigrated to Canada in 97. I'm Iranian Canadian, and within a few months of living in Canada, I fell in love with hockey. Funny enough, I fell in love with hockey in the Winter Olympics of 1998, and right now we are once again in Winter Olympics. And yeah, so then now I've been in this industry, and I'm, I guess, a veteran of this of the hockey industry. I've also worked for, when I was in Toronto, worked for an organization, Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, who also has an NBA team and an MLS team. But hockey is my love, and as you can see behind me, there's a lot of bobbleheads and posters of one of my favorite players and a lot of other things. That's one of the things we love working in sports. It's fun, although sometimes quite stressful too. That's what I do. My work primarily focuses on data, on analytics and technology, which also is not in general, we don't have a lot of women in the sports industry, although the numbers have grown tremendously and it gets better every day. But especially in the space of data analytics and technology, there's even fewer. So that's also a passion of mine, to make sure we have more diverse set of people working in our industry. We need to represent our fans. We need to understand what the fans want, and just having a diverse room of people, backgrounds, education, different, upbringings, ethnicity, all of that really adds more to any decision that you make.
You know, what I love about what you've done is you're a disruptor in a number of different ways. To the point you just made, you are the head of analytics for an organization. Very rarely, regardless of industry, do you see a woman who heads up analytics for a company. So that's one way you're a disruptor. The second way you're a disruptor is you're a double immigrant. So you immigrated to Canada first, and then from Canada you came to the United States. English is not your first language, and yet you have navigated your way to the very top of the ranks of an analytics organization. And it is an industry where you tend to not see women in those very senior, visible roles. So before we kind of talk a little bit more about badass traits and velocity versus speed, I'd like for you to break down a little bit more about how you made that possible for yourself, because there's so many different ways that you've done a near impossible thing. And I would love for people to hear more about that.
So, I started this sort of data part of my career again in Toronto. I worked in retail. I worked in luxury retail. Some people might know Whole Trend Fruit. So I started there, and then, fell in love with data. I realized my brain just works for it somehow. And then through several different steps, end up in the sports industry. And at the time, sports and business side analytics did not, there were not a lot, actually maybe anybody working in that space at all. So it was a growth area. So that's definitely one of the things that I got in really early, right? Got in really early, and also noticed that very quickly that there is something here. Of course, working for an organization that was progressive when it comes to business decisions, this was in 2005. Now still there are organizations like, does this data thing really work, in our industry, which that also has changed a lot. So that was definitely a foundation of it. If I had gotten in maybe years later or earlier, things might have changed differently. I got to work with many different people, from my boss at the time to the CEO and the CEO of the organization who got it and gave me the freedom to do what I needed to do. I started as a coordinator, but from very early on, I was able to make my own decisions. And if, of course, if there was mistakes made, everybody supported me to correct it, but I also had to prove myself a lot. And I worked really, really hard at it because, again, there were key people that got it. There were a lot of people who didn't. And that was a battle. And, I'm sometimes rub people the wrong way. And I was younger growing up, didn't really navigate a lot of things, maybe as well as I might right now. As you grow your leadership, your communication, all of these things changes and grow. You learn a little bit more about what to pay attention to when you're communicating to other people. I'm very logical. I'm a data-driven person. And as you mentioned, I'm very passionate about what I do. So that can sometimes come off as you have to bring people along with you, not push them away, right? So that is the area I had to learn to navigate. But then there was also a lot of challenges. Definitely, there were people that just told me, you're never going to be such and such role in this organization. Being the only woman in the room, not always easy. Of course, Russell and I worked together, but, we were in different teams all the time. We worked together as an organization, for a while, but those are also the people that your connections you make and the relationships you make that help you throughout. And yeah, I guess I worked really hard. I continue to learn, which is, again, a passion. It comes natural to me.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have a mentor that helps. Sometimes people that get you and support you and give you direction to go the right way. Because a lot of times what I found later on was there were people who wanted to change me instead of trying to channel my energy in the right path.
Speaking my language. Yeah, one of the things that I notice with leaders like you, the default mode is often, all right, these are all of the things we love about you. Keep all of these things, but then change this other part of you. Well, I mean, you can't have half. You either have all or nothing. And that's not to say, to your point, we don't become more mature as leaders, or we don't find new ways to build and nurture relationships. But but the mistake that happens with people that are managing leaders like you is trying to, I don't know, split you in two. It doesn't, it never works. It rarely works. And what often happens is that leaders like you become disengaged. Leaders like you say, well, I'm not going to bother trying. If you can't appreciate all of me, I don't feel motivated to stay in this role, to stay in this organization, or I don't feel motivated to deliver more than what you've asked of me. How true is that? Or how
it
true
is very true. And I think it's, this by no means means I'm perfect. I know I'm not.
Sure.
Everybody has growth areas. You'll continue to grow, you continue to learn. And I hope that every year I've learned something new. I'm a better leader, better person, better professional, whatever you want to call it. But I think the difference is if I had to waste so much time and energy trying to be softer, right? Because I'm a woman in a male dominated industry and you got to smile more and, all of those things. And I was like, never got it right. But you have to play those games. I had to, at a point, play those games, and it just, I was like, how much better would I have been, or how much faster some of our goals would have been accomplished if somebody didn't focus on my growth areas. Maybe it's better communication. Maybe it's, you need to listen better, whatever those things might be, but not make it about the stereotypical things we constantly hear. So those are definitely, that's definitely true. And then there are parts of me, I think also that, there are sometimes that you maybe have barriers in front of you. Sometimes you have support, but sometimes there are people behind you that are pushing you and almost unleashing you, right?
Yeah.
So those are very different experiences. I always had to navigate sort of, where am I going to go wrong, right? What's going to happen to me? And then, past few years, it has been like, go do it. And this is expected of you to make change. Want to make change? Make change. If there's a mistake, then we'll fix it. You know what I mean? It's just a very different experience.
It's a very different experience, and it's a function of a couple of things. Not only who do you choose to be as a leader, and that's a conversation you and I have had quite a bit, but then also what environments do we choose to find ourselves in, or what environments do we choose to create that channels all of our awesome, channels all of our wonderful energy, and because it feels good and comfortable for us, we always find ways to engage other people, get other people excited about what we're trying to do. It's when we're in environments that don't feel supported that something, I don't know, there's an X factor that becomes missing, and because the X factor is missing, we just don't communicate as well as we could, or perhaps we don't trust the environment, or perhaps we don't trust that everyone is there with the exact best of
Mhm.
intentions. And it's not personal, it's just environmental energy, so on, um, and so forth. So I'm happy for you that you have landed in a place with people who you feel get you, people who champion you. And then there may be times where you get feedback and you're okay with it because you realize the feedback is well intentioned.
Yes.
And that's such a key point for badasses to have, is once they know they're with their people and they receive well intentioned feedback, it is so easy for a badass to course correct.
Yes.
um, it is so easy for a badass to say, oh, okay, now I understand. I understand the content and context in which this feedback is being delivered to me. I now know that they're not asking me to change fundamentally. They're asking me to reframe how it is I might be positioning something, or reframe how it is that I might be delivering something. That is a fundamentally different experience than to hear change,
Yes. Yeah.
which which is a bummer.
Also, having the trust right now, I have the trust to go to our
Right.
president, who's my boss, and be like, hey, am I do like give me feedback? Am I doing something wrong? Am I off here? How do I navigate this situation to be the best? Because I know I would get the right feedback that
Right.
is going to help me, help my colleagues, help the organization, and not just be like, oh no, you are the type of person I don't necessarily enjoy, so I'm going to change you to become me.
Right.
Or I will need you to navigate a certain way, or be a certain type of person, or behave a certain way. So it's just very different, and I'm lucky because I've has those people throughout my career in different capacities, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, again, it's just depending on who that person is and their role in the organization. Or there are people that are outside of our organization that I really trust and I would reach out to and chat with them. You just want that honest, and to me, being honest and straightforward is the best. Don't think my feelings are gonna get hurt.
Right.
Maybe it does, but just give it to me straight.
Right. Right. And along those lines, let's go to our back to our main topic for today. And I think this is where communication is a nice segue. Is when we go 80 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, it's predicated on the idea that we are so excited about possibility. We're so excited about what happens on the other side of that journey, that the mistake that often gets made for badasses is the belief that people are mind readers. Or another mistake that badasses make is, well, if I just give them an overview, they'll be able to figure the rest of it out. Another common mistake that badasses make, and I say this with affection because I count myself as part of the club, is I forget to help people understand why going on this journey serves what their goals are. I forget to make it clear why they're important, that I couldn't get there without them, and why them being a part of the ride either is good for them professionally, or is good because they're contributing to the team, or whatnot. And it's been one of the hardest things for me to learn, but it's also been one of the best things for me to learn at the same time. So, Neda, I'm wondering, for you, since you're so smart, and you see possibility in your mind's eye, how have you learned navigating going really fast, uh, when, really too fast for the conditions, in other words?
Yeah, it's honestly it's still a struggle at times, right? Depending on what's going on, what I'm working on, my mindset, where I am, all of those things. Sometimes I'm not good at it. Many times I'm not good at it, right? But one of the things I find, and one of the things you mentioned is, if I'm going fast and I'm not bringing other people with me, it's no point to it, right? And there are times that I just put my head down and go, 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 run. What's that? There's a game that the guy runs really fast and smashes through everything. And it really sometimes becomes like that, which
Yeah.
is not necessarily helpful. There are times that it could be helpful because you just got to get it done, right?
Right.
But maybe it's a temporary, a short term project that needs to get done. Long term, it doesn't work well. To really have impact, and I think, to me, one of the differences between the speed and velocity that you talk about is about the impact, right? You can go as fast as you want, but if you don't have an impact, or if you don't bring other people with you, it's just maybe slowing it down a little bit and taking the time to explain, to in my role, to tell the stories of how this data can help you, to what the vision is, how we're going to get there. And one of the best things I think somebody told me years ago, this is, God, like, I don't know, many years ago, but I was very frustrated because I was like, why don't people get it? Right.
Right.
And I just couldn't, like, pass that point. And everybody was trying, and I'm like, why don't they get it? And somebody told me that, not everybody else thinks like you. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Other people, and that light bulb went off, right? So
Yeah.
it's just it, and I still sometimes get frustrated, right? Because I'm like, I've told you this 20 times, or why do I have to spell everything out? And again, it
Right.
depends on everything else. But the more, and I see it all the time, but I don't do it all the time. So let's be very clear about that. When I've taken the time to just tell the story to people, um, it makes a difference. And one of the things you more hear about, in tech companies or roles like mine, is the evangelist, be the evangelist of the technology, or technology evangelist, and all of that, because their role is to bring everybody else along. And the other thing that, to me, make a difference is the purpose. If you're going really, really, really fast and there is no purpose to it, or really, what is your purpose? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? And it's personal, it's about your community, it's about your colleague. Am I making things better for people behind me, people around me? That, to me, also makes a difference. Um, because all of those things, and I'm a little bit at that point right now, when you're going really fast, the burnout happens much
Right.
faster, because it's just, your tires start burning, versus when you take the time to do everything else, to make sure the purpose is right, to make sure bring other people along with you, to tell those stories, to make sure you're having impact. It's less. Am I doing it now? Definitely not. So it's just, I think, just having you also got to be honest with yourself at
Yeah.
times, of just check yourself in at times, and
Well, you bring up a good point. So, not only is it internal awareness, does this feel right? Does this feel good? What am I doing this for? Why am I doing it? All of those things. It's also environmental awareness. How good are you at reading the room? And so there may be times where you can go 80 miles an hour because everyone is free, available, and excited to go 80 miles an hour with you. But there are times where, to your point, why don't people get it? And I was laughing because I remember there have been times in my career, even this week, where I'm like, oh, people, why don't get it? And it's I haven't evangelized it. I haven't explained why it's important. I haven't shown why my degree of urgency is the right degree of urgency. I haven't asked good questions. I haven't expressed curiosity about where someone might be. And so, this idea of speed versus velocity is when we meet people where they are. And that doesn't mean compromising principles, compromising values, being willing to give up what's important to us, but really expressing curiosity about where someone is. That's where velocity lives.
Yes.
That's not
And a
where
little bit of empathy, right? One of the
right,
best things I did since I moved here was take a design thinking boot camp at Stanford's D School.
brilliant,
And that's really all about empathy. And
right.
again, it's a practice that I think all of us need to do better. I don't do it 100% of the time. Just listening better and just seeing where they're coming from makes a huge difference. And yeah, there are going to be different people in the room who are at your speed. They want to even go faster. But then you have to bring everybody else along, which is sometimes, you know, it's not easy for everybody. It's not easy for me. And I know that. And I know I need to do it. So you just constantly, again, have to just remind yourself. And there are times that I don't. And then, it's not the best experience for anybody. I have less impact. The project doesn't go well. Everybody's frustrated. I'm frustrated more. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the other point to bring up here is that sure we all have good intentions. Very few people, unless you're a toxic narcissist, very few people wake up in the morning and ask themselves, "How is it that I can inflict damage on other people today?" Like no one who has emotional mental health like has the desire to leave people behind or has the desire to make people feel excluded or unwanted. So that is the base case. And yes, we try to have empathy for other people, and we try to meet people where they are. Part of what I love about you having that design thinking experience is that part of that is test, learn, iterate, test, learn, iterate, test, learn, iterate. Is that we may not be good at it today, this environmental awareness or meeting people where they are. We may not even be good at it tomorrow, but we will get good at it when we continue to test, learn, iterate, test, learn, iterate. And that's the key thing that I want badasses to understand is I'm not interested in trying to change anyone, but how can we find new ways to engage so that everyone feels seen, heard, understood, and respected? And that means trying new things out. That means expressing curiosity. That means a little bit more environmental awareness. And also, and I would love to hear you comment on this, and also it means forgiving ourselves once we see that we haven't done quite as well as we would have liked engaging other people. So, how do you express patience with yourself? How do you say, it's okay, I'll try again, and not have what you might feel as a failure live with you?
I'm I'm good at that. I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Let's do it, get it done. If it doesn't, then we'll try something else. I'm a problem solver, I guess. And one of the things I liked about the 14 points you have is number 5. Um, you know how to figure it out. And it just comes natural to me for some reason, to just go at it. But I guess also I don't the worst thing you can do is sort of fester in it, right? Just be like, oh
Yep.
my God, this failed, and what
Yep.
am I gonna do? And just then that mindset sort of just becomes toxic itself. Versus if you try to deal with it and move on, it's just much better approach. Sometimes you have to go and apologize to somebody. You'll be like, hey, this I
Right.
made a mess here. And that to me is very it's just saying that this was a mistake. I made the mistake and owning it, it's pretty much done. The
Yeah.
challenges I've had in, work situations that frustrated me after a project maybe didn't work out or something was like when people didn't own it, right?
Yeah.
When you say, yeah, it happened. Sorry, what are we going to do now? What is next? How do we solve this? How do we get past this point? Then it's gone. When people try to like deflect it, um, blame somebody else, which is the worst thing possible, especially if they're blaming more junior people or just behave like that, it makes it, but otherwise, it's really, it's not about your ego, right? Which all of us have of some sort or
Right.
another. It's just about what is the goal, what is the objective, really, what are you here for? And then just get it done. It's not that, once you do it, it's really not that difficult. It has
Yeah.
never come to me that I'm going to avoid this for the rest of my life, you know, and never talk about it again. No, what do you learn from it? That's the biggest thing I think is,
Yeah.
what do you learn from it?
Yeah, one of the things I like to say, although given certain political situations. Maybe it's not true anymore. But what I like to say is you don't get taken to jail for trying. You try something out. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, also great. Every outcome is perfect because we take the information from that outcome and we apply it to the next experience. And that is, to your point, is where accountability lives. Is okay, I tried it, it didn't work, or this had an outcome I wasn't expecting. Tomorrow is another day. We will try again. We will do something different. So, Neda, we're going to wrap up shortly. What is one piece of advice that you've heard, or one piece of advice that you like to give that you feel is very impactful or has been very impactful for you as a badass leader?
Oh, I don't know. I think, it's really difficult for me to, because I think my learnings have been just picking up nuggets from different people throughout the way. And sometimes also not what to do, right? If something is bad and I'm like, I don't want to be like that. So that's also a huge learning experience. Um, I think to me, just for me, there are principles that I have that I try to stick with, and knowing you are at a place that they also have the same values, I think is key.
Yep.
If And again, I completely understand not everybody have a luxury of be like, I'm out of here, but you sometimes navigate your way towards that. Just being true to yourself, I guess, is the best thing I can say.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I have had values conversations quite a bit as well. And when badasses aren't in alignment with their values, or they're in places or spaces where there is a values misalignment, it's hard to shine. It's hard to succeed. And thank you for calling that out. That is a brilliant piece of advice. If people would like to reach out to Neda, here is her email address, but don't abuse it because she's busy. If people would like to, if people would like to reach out to me if they have a question, that is my email address as well. Neda, this has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I always enjoy conversations with you, and today is no different. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Any questions, drop a note in the comments or reach out to me directly on whatever platform you feel like reaching out to me on. And we will catch you on the next session of Badass Bytes. Bye, everyone.
Meet in person. Thanks, Parisa.
Thank you.